Hello and welcome to Astrology with Zeke. On this episode on historical figures, we're going to be going over Mozart. So I don't think I need to do too much of an introduction for him. I think a lot of people are aware of who he is, but for those who are unaware, he's a very famous composer who was actually a child prodigy and began his career as a child performing for royalty all over Europe. He also tragically died at a young age, at the age of 35, and well, he's written a lot of famous pieces, and for those who are in the know, had a very unusual sense of humor, and I can touch on that later as we dig into his chart. So, with that out of the way, let's begin. So, first things first, Mozart was a Virgo rising. So, Virgo risings tend to be people who are highly intelligent, very studious, analytical people. But what's interesting about Mozart is his chart ruler, Mercury, is in Aquarius, fifth house, and is conjunct his sun. So, what does this mean? This means that he was a highly creative person, um, and just kind of goes along with what we already know about him. He was also incredibly intelligent, creative, and drawn to doing new things, something really outside of the box. Um, Also, right there with his Mercury is Saturn, which is domicile in Aquarius. So, what this means, since he was a creative, this house is really applicable to his work. So what that means is he was an incredibly hard worker, very disciplined at what he did, very driven to uh, put out more and more pieces of music. Also, moving on, we can go to his moon. So he was a Sagittarius moon, so he got a lot of comfort, felt very nurtured, and kind of exploring new philosophies, new ways of thinking, um, and coming into contact with new cultures and just new ideas. But it is making a couple of difficult aspects. One, it's conjunct Pluto. So Pluto is the planet of the misuse and abuse of power and hidden things. So what this tells me is in his personal life, and plus, since it's in the fourth house, which is all about your family, your private life, your home, your roots, is I don't think he got a whole lot of nurturing. Um, yeah, I think he was probably controlled a lot by other people, or at least on a personal level, not so much on a professional level, but at least on a personal level, he probably didn't have a whole lot of direction or say with what he did with his life. It's also making a pretty hard square to Uranus, which is in Pisces, and it is exactly on his descendant. So I would say that his with his one-on-one relationships, especially with clients, there's probably a lot of upsets. Um, a lot of sudden endings and changes. Because even though he was only married once, because normally if I saw this on a client's chart, I would say, you know, divorce is probably something that happened regularly. And he was only ever married once. But I know with business clients, um, and employers, that was something that changed frequently for him, very unfortunately. Uh, on a somewhat more positive note, his moon is making a sextile to Jupiter in Libra, um, which just means he really enjoyed the fancier things in life. Um, but that also means he was terrible with money, which when we look into his life, yep, he had expensive tastes. And although his he garnered a lot of fame from his pieces, he never made a whole lot of money off of them. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think I've said enough about that. Oh, well, I'll also bring up this. His moon's also making a kind of loose trine to Neptune and Leo in the 11th house, which is all about what you're known for. And especially when it comes to his pieces, there was a lot of this just means that he was really good at doing groundbreaking work with his pieces, especially in the performance area, which, as we know, that's what he did. He wrote numbers, multiple operas, all kinds of pieces of work, uh, all of which, almost all of which did really well. So, to my mind, that's not really a surprise there. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, we'll go over his 10th house, because I just find this funny. So just as Mercury is his chart ruler, the ruler of his first house, funnily enough, his midheaven is in Gemini, which is also ruled by Mercury, which just goes to show that, yeah, he was destined to be a creator, a creative person. Um, but what's a lot more unfortunate for Mozart is he does have Mars in Cancer in the 10th house, and it is retrograde. So people with Mars in Cancer uh, tend to have a lot of trouble with asserting themselves and dealing with aggression in a healthy and dignified manner. And we can see this when we look at his partnerships, and, especially with um, his patrons, is, to be honest, with how much fame he got from his work, he really wasn't paid a whole lot. Yet, whenever he pressed the issue, it just never went in his favor. So that just goes to show, yeah, he was just not great at asserting himself successfully. He's probably really bad at it. Probably came off as highly immature, or even if he was in the right, just couldn't express himself or assert himself in a way that was effective in getting what he wanted. And we can see this too with the ruler of his Mars being that moon in Sagittarius conjunct Pluto. It probably tells me that he did have a really bad temper, but instead of being really scary, it probably came off more like a tantrum, which I like the guy, but and I don't want to make it sound like he was a bad person. But he was just unable to get people to take him seriously if there was a disagreement. So it's just a very unfortunate uh, placement, and it's something that's plain to see when you look into his business relationships. Um, anyways, but on a more positive side within his career and within his friendships, just like I said, he was a very prolific creator when it came to music. He uh, dabbled in all different types of music, like operas and all kinds of stuff. But he also had a highly unusual sense of humor, which I think is right on par for someone with their Mercury in Aquarius. The quirky and kind of hard to pin down, just highly unusual people, especially with someone with like a stellium uh, in Aquarius like he does. He was very into scatological humor, um, and you may have seen a meme circulating around that he wrote a piece of music that translated to lick my, you can guess what the last word was, which you can find on Spotify, by the way. I looked it up. You can find it, which I just find hilarious. So, like, letters have been preserved of him making these kind of jokes to his sister, of all people. So, there you go. Anyways, yeah, pretty interesting guy, highly unusual. But unfortunately, yeah, died young at the age of 35. And despite his contributions to classical music, unfortunately, just never really made much money from his career, which is pretty unfair if you ask me, but there you go. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for Mozart. If there's anyone else you would like me to do, go ahead and leave a name in the comments and I'll go ahead and check them out. Anyways, that'll about do it for today, and we'll see you all next time.